Okay, well, it's my pleasure to welcome to the New Zealand Rugby League Museum this morning Tom McKeown, one of our game's great administrators. So welcome, Tommy.
Yes, thank you.
I'd like to take you back, if I can, right back to 1950 when you first started playing rugby league for Ponsonby. What do you remember of those days, way back then?
Oh, well, not a great deal, I must admit, but I played in 50 and 51 for the club, and the only problem that we had was that I don't think we weren't coached very well. We weren't really coached how to tackle or anything like that. We just went up and ran around the field, and that was about our lot.
So why did you get into rugby league? What influences?
The main reason was my father was secretary of Ponsonby going back to 1936 or 38, and my brother also played for Ponsonby right through to our reserve grade, and that's really got me. I started sort of being a ball boy for my brother's side up at the Auckland Domain,
Yep.
and then we'd wander down to Carlisle Park and watch the main games down there after he'd finished.
Yep.
So
what about influences from a player's perspective? Who can you remember that icons of the game that you used to watch then? Who was?
Oh well, Des White.
Des White, of course. Yeah.
Des White. There was quite a lot of them in that stage. They had Ron Smythe and
Yep.
and there was all sorts of different icons around the place.
Yeah.
But most probably the biggest influence I had was when Roger Bailey was playing, and I was
The great Roger Bailey.
Yeah.
Well, you just mentioned that you didn't really get coached that well. Do you have any recall of coaches and then from that time that?
No, I think the guy's name was Albie Griffiths.
Yep.
That coached us, but I wouldn't guarantee that.
Oh, okay, but he didn't have that much of an influence on you.
No, not really. No.
Okay, so then you actually get the opportunity to referee schoolboy league.
Yes.
So how did that come about?
Well, as a matter of fact, it really came across because I was living in Oraki, and one of the bus drivers was a guy by the name of Bert Horscroft, who was a referee, and he said to me, "Why don't you come and referee?" So we went, and I think I was one of the inaugural referees. There was a Roy Chisel and one of the Point Chevalier guy. There was about four of us, and we used to go out and do the refereeing for all the schoolboy games, and we'd do nothing from start at maybe 9 o'clock in the morning and finish again at 12:30.
So what happened prior to that? People just refereed their own games?
No, I think that they had. I think the senior referees went down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you went up to junior refereeing, and
Yes.
So that was a bit of a jump as well.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I refereed through until 57, and I think the best I got was I did a reserve grade game.
Yep.
That was my lot.
Any finals? Do any finals?
No, I didn't. No,
finals.
I wasn't that good.
Yeah. So what about refs then? Can you remember any?
George Kelly was the guy that took us to start off with.
Yes.
And there was the Bertie Payne, and they were sort of all senior referees at that stage.
Yeah. The strength of Auckland Rugby League in those days, Tommy, Ponsonby obviously great club. Was that where the dominant league players were?
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, when we go further on, Ponsonby had some absolutely marvellous Kiwis, some of the legends.
Yeah.
The Don Mans and
yes,
and John O'Sullivan, Roger Bailey, of course.
Yes.
And we also had a team where Ponsonby at one stage had 4 Baileys playing in the back line.
Right.
And I remember right up in the 8 o'clock where they said that the ball went to Bailey, on to Bailey, on to Bailey, on to Bailey, and back to Bailey, and Bailey scored.
Actually, I actually think I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. Great memories. Then you take up coaching in City Newton of all places, just down the road. So how did that come about, and why City Newton?
Well, I was living in Oraki,
right,
and that's where my parents lived, and City was the sort of club, and for somehow I sort of got a bit tied up with them, and Wally Conza, who used to swim the channels, his son was playing in that team, and they sort of conned me into going in there, and I coached for 2 years there, and we actually won a couple of championships too.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, you know, but they again had, they were only schoolboys, but they had some very good players in that team,
Yep.
you know.
So in '61, you go back to Ponsonby
Yes,
as an administrator, and you become the secretary for the junior
yes,
committee.
yes, I did that in
Yeah.
61 and
What was
62.
that? Because no one else would do it.
Most probably, yeah, most probably. Because one of the legends of Ponsonby, and George Crowell, talked
Yes,
me into,
yes, yeah.
into doing that. And then I moved on in 61. I sort of did that, and at the end of 61, I took over as secretary of the senior
Of
committee.
the senior side,
Yeah.
right? So, in those days, Tommy, I mean, we all know that the club struggled in today's environment. What was it like back then? You know,
Oh.
the chook raffles at the pubs.
Oh,
And,
yeah, we used to do raffles up at the the old Ponsonby Club Hotel.
Yes, yes,
And our treasurer at that stage, by the name of Tracy Brown, we used to run the old tote raffles, you know, 3 for half a crown.
yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
Tracy would go up and he'd sit in the chair, and that's what I couldn't get over was he'd sit in the chair, and all the people would come to him.
Come to him.
Yeah, and he'd sell nothing for him to sell, you know, sort of, I don't know, 600 or 700 tickets a week,
Bloody
you know,
hell.
and that's how we got it. And then we sort of went into pub raffles and
Yes, yeah.
things like that. And
Yeah. 69, Tommy McKeown, chairman of Ponsonby Rugby League.
yes, yeah, I
Yeah.
did. Bill Pengelly, who was the chairman, and
The
very,
Pengellies, yes.
yeah, well, he decided to have a year off, and so I chaired the club for just for 1 year, and Bill came back the next year,
That's right.
and I went back to secretary again.
Yep, yep. So, but then you had a few other roles along the way. But then '78, the board of Auckland Rugby League.
Yes.
So once again, another big jump there.
Yeah, yeah.
That must have been a bit of an honour for you to
Yeah,
sit
well,
on
it
the board.
was. In those days, they used to have club delegates,
Yes.
and I was elected club delegate, and the bloke that I replaced was Bill Greaves, who was an ex-Ponsonby secretary as well, and so I replaced Bill Greaves on the Auckland Rugby League board, and moved on from there.
Yep.
Sort of in the beginning of '69, I took over as treasurer of the Auckland Rugby League.
Yep.
And stayed there until '84.
Yep. Yep.
And that's when I shifted from there and went to the Warriors.
Yep.
I got a phone call from Frank Endicott one day
Right.
and said to me, you know, would you like to come and work with the Warriors?
Oh,
As,
but before we go on to that,
Yeah,
I
sorry.
mean, and that's you know, I mean, that's obviously a huge part of what you've done. But I just wanted to mention, Tommy, like in 1975, you made a life member of Ponsonby, and then in 1985, a life member of the Auckland Rugby League.
yes.
Then bigger honours to come later on. So it's a huge honour for you and
Oh,
for what
yeah.
you were doing.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, to be recognised by Ponsonby, and then
Yes.
the governing body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yeah, you know.
What about 85? We get appointed the business manager for the Kiwis, and you go on tour with Graham Lowe, tour to Great Britain and France.
Yes.
How was that? Memories from that?
Marvellous.
Yeah.
Absolutely marvellous. I went away with, I've never regretted that, and it's still in the back of my mind.
Yep.
That tour was absolutely marvellous.
Yeah.
And, you know, I went away with a lot of good players.
Tell us about some of those players
Well,
in the
you know,
85 tour. There was-
Yeah, well, they had Hugh McGann,
Yes, of course. Yeah, Mark Graham.
Mark Graham, there was Olsen Filipino.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And,
Wonderful.
you know, we had the boys that played for Hull, James Leluai, Kevin, you know, we had those all guys, Fred O'Coy.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, we had a real good
Yeah.
team. And we were a bit unlucky. We won one game, got thrashed in the second one,
Yes. Yes.
and then we drew the third one.
Yes. Yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah.
they were marvellous.
Graham Lowe, of course, he brought a different coaching style
Oh,
to the
yes.
game and lifted the game for New Zealand, didn't he?
Oh, he was a great motivator.
Yeah, motivation.
Great motivator.
Yes. Yeah. And you retained that role too, and then of course you go to Australia, you tour Australia, Papua New Guinea, and having toured Papua New Guinea, I know what that's all about. It's a challenge for everybody, but on those tours there, who stands out for you? You know, you just mentioned some wonderful names there, but if you had to give me one or two names,
Or Ron O'Regan.
Ron O'Regan,
You know,
yes.
and Peter Brown. Peter Brown and Adrian Shelford.
Yep, yes.
Were, particularly in Papua New Guinea, you know how they come in, you know, with knees and arms and everything. Not sort of being dirty, but that's the way they played.
That's the way they played.
And
yes, it was dirty.
yeah, at some stage
Yeah.
we flew Hugh McKeown over for the test matches, and we got beaten there. Unfortunately,
That's right, yes.
yeah, well, unfortunately, Joe Ropati was another one that came with us, and Joe scored under the posts, and the referee looked, and the sitting in the stand are all these Papua New Guinea guys with their face paint on and rifles and bows and arrows, and the referee, he went down and put the ball down and jumped up in the air, and the referee said he knocked it on. And then, you know, we said to him afterwards, you know, he scored. He said, I know he scored, but he said, my life was in my hands. He said, so that's why I didn't award the try.
Oh my gosh. Another huge honour, you know, bestowed upon you, Tommy, in 1994, life member of New Zealand Rugby League. I mean, that's the epitome of recognition in the game, and life member of New Zealand Rugby League. You must have been very, very humbled and honoured.
I was, you know. I didn't think it. I was actually at an Auckland meeting, and Sal Shanks was the chairman at that stage of Auckland, and we were going to apply again for the Auckland manager's job, and I threw a bit of a resume of what I'd done, and Sal said to me, God, look at this, he said, he's up for life membership, and so that's where it came from, and that was a great honour.
Yeah. Can I ask you about that? You've just mentioned something there about managing the Auckland sides, and you managed them from '98 to 2003, which is a pretty long time, you know, to manage a side. Great Auckland teams, fantastic Auckland teams in that era.
They were, but the football was a lot different nowadays because you know, we had the Kiwis that were playing for their different provinces and things like that, and you know, we had a back line. We played Australia and actually beat Australia by 26 to 24.
That's right.
But in that back line, you know, we had Kevin Iro and Dave Watson, and Mike Patton. He was another one, and Mike Patton would give his all the time, you know. And we had Peter Brown and you know, Don Mann, and we had a pretty good side.
Yes, you had a pretty good side, a pretty good manager too, I might say too. 1995, the inaugural Vodafone Warriors are born, and guess who becomes their original guest? How on earth did that come about?
Well, I came about that because Frank Endicott, who was coaching Canterbury, and the strange thing about that was that Cameron Bell was coach of Auckland, and we'd go down there and we'd say go out on the Friday night, play on the Saturday, and the Friday night we'd always meet up with Frank and have a talk to him, and then Frank rang me up and sort of said to me, you know, how would you like to come and work as a gear steward type thing, you know? And I'd been working in the bank for nearly 43 years at that stage, and so I went and said to my wife, you know, this, and she jumped and said, yes, take it. You know? So, you know, and I had a marvellous time with it.
What did the bank people say when you went in and said, I'm leaving?
Well, the strange thing was that in the job I was doing, I kept on telling them, I've got to get somebody else to learn how to do it, because I was the only guy that really knew what was going on. And I used to import and repatriate all the foreign currencies for New Zealand. And so I got this, and I went in and gave them 2 weeks' notice. And they weren't very happy about that. But
you know, just going back to the whole Warriors thing there, Tommy, it was just such an exciting time, not just for our game, but for the country. It was just huge, wasn't it? It was just unbelievable. I mean, I can just thinking back now, and it brings the hairs on my neck stand up about thinking how wonderful that was that time, and you were part of it. You were part of it.
Yeah, it was marvellous. You know, they say that, you know, that the game wasn't in the played and the Warriors were bad, but they say the same thing now. You know, they've got to give the guys a fair go. It's all very well to sit there and criticise, but you know, unless you're actually out there playing on the field, you can't tell, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everybody's an armchair critic. Just to finish off, Tommy, and you know, we've just spoken about some wonderful, wonderful memories, and you've been involved with the game for such a long time. If you had the opportunity to change anything in the game today, what would it be?
No, I don't think I'd change. I don't think I'd do a lot of changing. I mean, you know, as you say, I've had a fairly lengthy career, but I owe the game nothing.
Yep.
The game owes me nothing, and I'm sorry, I really owe the game something for giving me the opportunity to go and do this thing.
Yep.
And one of the other things that I did was that when I got appointed a life member of New Zealand was a great honour, but one of the greatest honours was being appointed to go away in Kiwi teams.
Yes.
And we've had some absolutely marvellous Kiwi players,
Yes.
but nobody ever wore the Kiwi blazer with more pride than I did. I was so pleased, and you know. Oh.
Stop it, Tommy, and bring a tear to my eye. Well, Tommy, on behalf of New Zealand Rugby League, on behalf of all of us involved with the game, thank you so very much for everything you've done for the game and you continue to do. Thank you, Tommy.
No, it's been my pleasure.
Thank you.